Remember the SpongeBob episode Squid's Visit? The one where SpongeBob tries to get Squidward to visit his house? Remember how extremely dark and creepy it was? It turns out that this episode in particular has an original, much more disturbing version to it. I was walking through an old video store one day when I found some SpongeBob DVDs. There were some DVDs like Natural Nonsense, Sponge Buddies, Hide and Seek, Sea Stories, Lost at Sea, etc. But there was one DVD that caught my eye. It was a DVD named Scaredy Pants, I Was a Teenage Gary, and Other Spooky Sea Tales. Like any others, it was around $5, so I decided to buy it. Once when I brought it home, I looked at the episodes on the DVD, and the episodes on the disc were Scaredy Pants, I Was a Teenage Gary, The Graveyard Shift, Shane Hailed, Nasty Patty, Ghost Host, Squid Bob Tentacle Pants, Nightlight, and Spongehage. And there were actually a few bonus episodes as well, such as Blackjack, Crab Bond, Doing Time, Funny Pants, and then Squid's Visit. I watched a full setup of bonus episodes, and everything seemed to be normal. When I watched the bonus episodes, the one thing that seems out of place in some scenes, in some episodes like Blackjack and Crab Bond, where the color looked as if it was filmed in the olden times, like the 1960s, as it would flicker a little bit. I turned on the episode, Squid's Visit, and the title card came up, but it looked rather eerie. For one, instead of the normal happy tune it played in the TV version, the sound of it was disturbing tune that it sounded as if something had been scraping along the hard ground, followed by a bang every few seconds. The title card showed a pineapple background, except that the background looks ruined and it has been covered in gashes and scratch marks, as if something just torn from the pineapple's texture apart. Instead of the words Squid's Visit in their usual blue and white, there was actually black and red. The episode started off normally, with SpongeBob constantly asking Squidward to visit him, with Squidward saying no every time. But instead of taking no for an answer, SpongeBob steals Squidward's vacuum cleaner, like in the episode, and when Squidward comes to SpongeBob's house, he finds that SpongeBob had redecorated to look like exactly Squidward's every room, very detailed, and every mark is correct. The things that go normally until the episode when Squidward decides to look for his vacuum cleaner in his art room. And that's where things got really disturbing. Once he enters the art room, the room is extremely dark, although Squidward is still capable of seeing what is around him. An eerie wind-like chime tune begins to play as Squidward looks at the portraits around him, and none of them seem to be slightly morbid. One of the paintings shows a description of a feeble squid just sitting all over a bed, sobbing hysterically. Another one displays a pail, and then Squidward with nothing but hollow sockets in his eyes and the nose and where the mouth should be. Another painting displayed that the clown from the original episode, but with black holes in the eyes of what seemed to be crying blood. Squidward sits on the center rug and huddles in fear. He finds the closet door and goes to open it, instead finding a pile of SpongeBob stuff with a vacuum cleaner under it. Like the TV version, he finds a large stairway that leads to the cold and dark basement. This is where things got truly disturbing. Squidward walks down the hallway into the basement, and what sees extremely eerie. He then standing inside a room with the dim light ceiling above the center. Along with the chains hanging from the ceiling on the opposite side of the room was a rusty cage. He walks towards it, but there's a cruel looking sentence engraved on the front. In description, though through scratchy, says, "Hairy friends forever." He then looks inside the cage, and it has a barred window, and is horrified to see the remains of someone who was trapped inside that cage, with interior filled with twisted and disordered drawings on writings on the walls. Squidward was even more horrified when he sees the name under Harry on his own. Squidward tries to escape as fast as he can, but all the doors were locked just as he tries to escape through the back door. SpongeBob appears behind him and startling him. SpongeBob looks psychotic, twitching and trembling as he walked. He had a large, unnerving smile on his face, and he was holding a large and bloody butcher knife. "Please, let me out of here!" "Oh, I can't do that, Squidward. If I let you go, you will tell everything to the police. And nobody wants that. and you can't escape from me. I've barred every door and window, every secret passage that you have a chance of getting out. But now that you're stuck here, and once I'm finished with you, we shall be closer forever. Squidward then tries to break through the door, but it won't budge, and SpongeBob begins to cackle maniacally as he slowly approaches Squidward, who is now huddling in fear. He screams while SpongeBob was raising the knife in fear. SpongeBob then pierces the knife into Squidward, causing a large graphic amount of blood to splatter on the wall. And it was not like seal animation blood, it was just food coloring entire paint, but were real before suddenly cutting to black. But not without a horrible scream from the poor Squidward, and the episode ended. I felt extremely uneasy by the time this episode was over. I was determined to find out of its origin. After contemplating on what I just saw, I went back to the video store with the DVD to find out where the DVD originally came from. I asked the store to check on the DVD, and he reluctantly but willingly let me back to the back room, and this is where I learned the secret of how the episode came to be. The man originally worked with the writers of SpongeBob SquarePants as one of the creators of certain DVDs. He even composed DVDs Scaredy Pants, I Was a Teenage Gary, and other spooky sea tales. As he told me that the version of Squid's Visit I just saw was its original and then unaired version that was created before it aired season 6. In late season 5, after Blackened Sponge and Mermaid Man vs. SpongeBob aired in 2007, the writers wanted to make a new Halloween special for the upcoming month of October. They wanted to do something a bit different this time around. They decided to make a full 30-minute Halloween special, along with 4 morbid episodes to follow it, but for some reason, these episodes were delayed. Even though they were fully written and recorded and animated, the 30-minute episode was one where SpongeBob and Patrick supposedly find a haunted house or ship that they meet, and it was originally the Flying Dutchman's first mate. The 30-minute Halloween special was delayed, but later aired in season 8 as Ghoul Fools, and the 4 other morbid tales were just released later than as regular episodes. As 4 episodes were Planet of the Jellyfish, season 8, Are You Happy Now, season 8, One Course Meal, season 7, and Squid's Visit, season 6. 3 episodes all stayed the same when they aired, but the same thing can't be said for Squid's Visit. When it turns out that Squid's Visit was intended to be much darker than it was today, but since SpongeBob was targeted at younger audiences, the episode either had to be changed or to be less disturbing or to be cancelled entirely. So the writers lowered their eerie tone of the episode and removed the scene where SpongeBob stabs Squidward with a knife, changed the paintings to look less scary, and even changed the scene to where Squidward finds the rusty cage scene where he finds a pile of SpongeBob stuff with the vacuum cleaner under it. But even then, the darker version was never aired on TV, and all of the DVDs, like the one I bought, included this special episode, though it's extremely rare. If you do come across a DVD like one I bought, and if you're willing to watch the unaired episode of Squid's Visit, just remember after you watch the DVD, the episode could haunt you for the rest of your life. And if you do know someone that holds an unnerving obsession over you, just be wary. You could end up like Squidward, trapped inside a dark, cold, isolated room, never to see the light of day, eventually being driven to the dark depths of insanity, where you can never, ever escape. And that, my little pretties, was SpongeBob Squid's Visit alternative episode. A SpongeBob Lost Episode creepypasta written by the Sock Collector. My final thoughts on the story? I'm gonna be honest, I didn't find this story to be too bad, to be honest. It's not a bad creepypasta. Like, I actually first heard of this story from Shadow's old channel back, when his old channel was around before it was terminated. I do remember hearing this story a few times. Like, I actually really like how this story went out. It's not a bad one, I will have to admit. It's not really like a bad one or anything. But I do have some reasons on why the story isn't as perfect as I am going to say and state this. Okay, this story was not perfect. I mean, it's not terrible, I'm gonna be honest, but I just wasn't really a major fan of, the concept. I will say a few things what I liked about it in a second. But I'm gonna basically talk about the positives of this story. Now, for one thing, the grammar was good. May not be perfect because I did spot run-on sentences in the story, so that was why the story was hard for me to read, because there was run-on sentences and all that. But I definitely would have to say that I don't know when this story was written, maybe 2016 or something. But there is also another thing that I wasn't really a fan of the story, was that it was cliched. I mean, at the beginning part of the story, the person goes to a DVD store and buys, the DVD, the episode, and it's on DVD. Yeah, that cliche, I would have to say it's been done before. And I didn't think the story was too bad at all when I first saw it. I didn't see this how the story would be too bad. The story actually did have, somewhat of a good, interesting concept. I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion or not, because I haven't read this story in a long time. This is my first time reading this story in a while. I think I did narrate this back in 2019, but yet again, I don't remember because it's been quite a while. Well, a long time actually, but I kind of remember, having this one to be quite messed up, especially with Squidward going to SpongeBob's house and he gets murdered by SpongeBob. I mean, I'm not really a fan when it comes to creepypastas that actually have that, but for some reason, the story just didn't seem to be a bad one at all. I actually really do like how, the concept basically is. Basically, that this episode was originally going to be a Halloween special or something, but since this, whole pasta was pretty disturbing and all that, no kidding, oh my goodness, I was oh my goodness, it was something. I'm definitely gonna say that. I didn't get scared by it, but I would have to say it unnerved me a bit. I know it might not be a popular opinion. I know some people may not, find this story enjoyable, but the story was not too bad at all. I didn't find this story to be, bad. I found this story to be quite, decent. Not perfect, but not too bad, to be honest. The sentence structure was alright. I did spot some run-on sentences in the story, so, like I said, needs to be fixed up. But I mean, this paragraph structure was most likely good. But I think near towards the end, the paragraphs were getting kind of little big. So I would suggest maybe space it out a little bit at certain parts. But other than that, the story was not terrible. So there's definitely that. Anyways, is there anything else that I have to say about the story? The one thing I did not like was the fact that SpongeBob would kill Squidward, in a very, messed up manner that you actually, see, you probably heard it in the narration. I just didn't like how, SpongeBob would do that. I'm gonna sit here and be honest, SpongeBob is not the type of person to sit there and do that. I can't honestly see SpongeBob doing this, but yet again, who really knows? I know this is an older story, so I'm kind of willing to give that a pass. It's not a terrible story, but it's not perfect. So, there's definitely that. And I'm going to say right now, this is just simply my own personal opinion. And if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regarding these creepypastas. This is just simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this story would have to be, I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 because it's not a bad creepypasta. I found this one to be somewhat enjoyable, but there were problems with the story that does need to be revised. Especially with, the way SpongeBob would sit there and, kill Squidward, and the fact that, there were a couple cliches in the story. But other than that, it was not terrible, to be honest. The grammar does need to be fixed up, same with the sentence structuring. But the story was not terrible. Not perfect, but it was not terrible either. So, yeah, I did hear other narrations of this story, like Mr. Gruesome, Dave the Useless actually narrated this, And a few other people did narrate this story as well. So that's why I thought, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot at this story cuz I haven't read this story in like a really long time. But yeah, anyways, what did you guys think about this story? Did you all enjoy it? Did you all not? Also, what you have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you're new to my channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out of here and I'll see you all in the next video.